Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 148 as England take on Italy in Newcastle in the last of their World Cup warm-ups, and Dan's back for his first live pod. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. It is game day. England have their final World Cup warm-up match. It's in Newcastle. First time in 10 years that England have hosted a game outside of Twickenham. And, you know, it's an England game. It's huge. And of course, well, not of course, because the last few, he's been missing. But he's back. I'm joined by Dan for a live game. Hey, mate.
The chili has been cooking slowly all day. The homemade guacamole's ready. The chicken wings are waiting to be deep fried. And the lacto-free cheese is unfortunately there because my girlfriend's selfish and lactose intolerant. Mate, I cannot wait for today. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I missed last weekend. It was like I enjoyed watching Ireland beat Wales in Cardiff.
I didn't enjoy the game, but
after the drubbing that we gave them. But yeah, there was something missing, and tonight that missing ingredient will be returned, and of course it's England playing rugby. I'm really looking forward to it. Not obviously as much of a test match as some of the other games, and certainly it's not World Cup knockout type environment, but it doesn't matter. We get an opportunity to see some new faces, and it should be a good one. Just before we kind of get into it all, reviews have been a little light on the ground recently. So yeah, if you guys get the opportunity, really appreciate it if you could get on, let us know what you think. Gives us something to read out and talk about. But we have had a review. It's from our old friend Wade. He's back. I think he may finally get us, Dan.
I hope so. Go on, Wade.
5 stars, always nice. He says, chaps, this is the way you roll. I've spread the word of this incredible pod to the boys at the old Alini and RFC. They agree they've never heard such a load of one-eyed spin in their lives. The club president, Mike Lobb, and Spike Kenny, the head coach, are especially impressed. Boys, you are on fire, but pride comes before a fall. I hope not, and I do believe in England, and they have a shout in Japan, but everything has to go like clockwork, as I'm not sure strength and experience in depth survives an injury crisis. Good luck, England and the pod. FYI, an Undertaker, Zippy. Keep it up. Best WD.
Wait, an Undertaker? What the fuck?
I mean, it was always going to be either that or a management consultant, right?
Well, yeah, I was close with a doctor as well, wasn't I? You literally can have to, right, fair enough.
Maybe just not a very good doctor, and then he's known as the Undertaker.
Yeah. He used to be a doctor, and then okay, fine. Great, thanks a lot, Wade. That's a good review. We stay unfalteringly biased and unfalteringly committed to our belief in we are bringing home William Webb Ellis.
There comes a point when you make certain statements where it doesn't really matter. You have to just back yourself.
Yeah.
Now, that's irrelevant because we already know that England are going to win the World Cup anyway. But for anyone else who's making bold statements, you know, the advice is back yourself, especially when it gets this far down the road. We've been saying this for 2 years now. We can't turn around and start sitting on the fence. I have to say I disagree when he's basically saying that England's strength in depth isn't enough to survive an injury crisis. Well, I mean, maybe not if the plane goes down, but. I think the strength and depth is pretty significant if you look at the guys that aren't going.
I think we'll find out a lot about that strength and depth tonight.
Yeah, we're playing a very different side. It's almost an entirely new back line. So that will be an interesting one. People will argue how much can you kind of take from tonight's game. I mean, Italy have made 11 changes to the A side that lost 47-19 to France. So they're resting a lot of their main players. Their scrum half, Callum Braley, captained England under 20s when they won the World Championships in 2014.
Sorry, what was his name? I didn't catch it.
Well, in English you'd say Callum Brayley, but I guess...
Well, no, his Italian name, I want to know.
I think it's Callum Brayley.
Okay.
But I don't know. So yeah, it's from an England point of view. I guess your question, what are the goals? What are we looking to take out of this game?
Yeah, so that I think that's a great point. How much, looking at risk versus reward, do we get more reward out of this game than is worth the risk? Bearing in mind the risk obviously being injury, potentially, although I think this is a stretch, potentially fatigue, although I don't really believe that.
No.
But what reward do we get out of the game?
Yeah, go on.
No, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, for me, the key bits of reward that I see are Watson at fullback, McConaughey finally getting his first game, and Ben Young's a chance just to get himself a bit of get that confidence back, get to the old Ben Youngs we know and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you talk risk and reward, it's probably a question that you answer at the end of the game, because if there are no injuries, then the reward is it's another 80 minutes played without injury, where you've seen players in different positions. But if a load of injuries come off the back of it, then you would argue, well, the risk wasn't worth the reward. But I think these guys have to back themselves. What Anthony Watson was interviewed in the week, and he said that England will not fear injuries. And, the reaction to that is people saying, some people, probably the Welsh, saying that it's English arrogance. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's about backing your conditioning.
Of course it is.
These guys are working hard every day. The training camp in Treviso, if you've seen the latest episode of The Rising Suns, they're working really hard. And they're doing that to make sure that their conditioning means that they can make it through the World Cup. They're not going there with a plan to have to bring out replacements because of injury, but they're conscious that it's possible. But you have to go into these things assuming that everything's going to be fine, because, as Anthony Watson said in this interview, the minute you start worrying about getting injured is the minute when you go in at 75% instead of 100%, and that's when the injuries occur. So, obviously, we cross our fingers, we hope that nothing comes of it, but they have to go into it, treat it like any other test match.
And I've no doubt they will. I guess one of my biggest, and something that I'm sure you'll go into more depth about, is even if Watson has a great game at fullback, McConaughey has a great debut, is it, with the greatest respect to the world, do we learn that much against the team they're facing?
I don't think you learn...
I don't mean necessarily Italy as a whole. I mean, not just the fact that Italy are not in their best form at the moment, but also the team they've put out is... I
tell you what, I think as fans, the answer is no. I think the fans get, hopefully, a bit of a sort of spectacle, lots of tries, and have a really good time, enjoy watching England hopefully dominate this Italian team. I think from Eddie and the coach's point of view, there will be very specific things that they've been working on in training that they will want to see England getting right, and I think that they will get a lot more out of it than we will in terms of the what it means for moving forwards. So I'm not concerned that England aren't going to get anything out of it. The warm up. These are what warm ups are about. We're trying different things, outside of just having players that we know are good, but, are they first choice in the likes of Launchbury and Laws in the second row, for example? Well, right now, I don't think Launchbury and Laws are going to play themselves from this game in front of Itoje and Cruz. But I don't think it's about that for the likes of them. It's about what they've been doing in training, what they're kind of... the things they've been trying to improve on from the previous three games, and it's about, can they do that? And this is stuff that, as I say, we as the the general public, we as the fans, are not kind of privy to. So I think there's value in the game for sure. But I think the advantage for us is that we get hopefully to have see a bit of a spectacle. We get to see McConaughey out there doing what he apparently is going to do, which none of us know yet. That's exciting. We get to see Watson at fullback. Lots of people have been asking for it, regardless of whether you're in the Daly or Watson first choice fullback camp or not. We need to see Anthony Watson playing at fullback for England again because he's first choice replacement if he's not starting. So,
absolutely.
Again, I think the way that Eddie has gone the last 3 games, it feels like Daly is his go-to, and therefore Anthony Watson is playing for just a bit of practice, I think, at fullback. McConaughey, as I've mentioned. Who else have we got? Joe Marchant. I mean, okay, so people will argue that what's the point in having guys that are not in the 31? We covered that in the last episode.
Yeah.
There have been some injuries. They're not serious, but we don't want to play Manu. And Joe is both a future England player, and Eddie may well be saying, look, since we don't have anyone else to play that role, but we want a game plan that requires a big centre that would ordinarily be Manu. Let's use Joe, and it's good for him, but also because he may well be the call-up. If something does happen to Manu, who are we calling on? Ben Teo's not available. Joe Marchant probably is the next guy on the list if you're looking for a relative like-for-like. So, why not?
Well, yeah, I think he's the next on the list for Manu, for a JJ as well. I'd probably have him more in a JJ category than I'd probably have him more in the JJ category than anything else. But yeah, he's next in line, and like you say, we covered this in the last one. I think there's value to it, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to seeing them run out. I hope we see a lot of Kovacic. I hope Billy doesn't stay on too long, because I know they say that Billy needs to play a lot, but I actually, fair enough, have a run out. But I hope at half time it might be like, right, let's see what else we can do at 8. Be that Kovacic, be that Wilson. And I hope that we run in a hell of a lot of points. I'm pretty sure we will.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I literally have no idea who half the Italian team is. I was reading through the team sheet and I was just like, and that may just be my lack of knowledge outside the England kind of arena, but I was just like, I don't know who any of these guys are. So
I know who the scrum half is, Callum Brilli.
Exactly, you've heard of him. The famous Italian scrum half. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Another England player that we get to watch.
yeah.
We can't really talk, but anyway, Wilson's got to have a good game. He's an honorary local boy. He's actually from Cumbria, but yeah, obviously he spent the last however long 200 caps with Newcastle. Obviously he's on loan to Sale now, but he's back with Newcastle for the 2021 season.
Assuming they get promoted.
Yeah, well, they're obviously making that.
I'm sure
now.
They will.
But yeah, big performance from him. Home crowd and all that.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope we see him at 8. I want to see him at 8. I want
to see him at 8.
Give Billy 20 minutes if he needs to run out, and then take him off. Wilson on. Kovacic, I think he's. It will be good to see him playing in an England shirt, but I think slot him in to probably put him in at 6. Actually, no. Kovacic can play 7. He can go in at 7. Keep Curry at 6, getting that experience. That's what I want to see.
That's not a bad shout, because I think Underhill Curry is a diamond combination, and actually with hindsight, having Curry at 6 is probably very smart, because it sort of underlines to me that shows that Eddie is probably looking at him as a 6, Underhill as a 7. Playing Billy at 8, I'm back and forth on this one, because against the Italian team put out, it almost seems like bullying to have Billy running at them. But that's not something we need to worry about now. What we need to worry about is, and I think there's probably a lot to chat sort of half time and things we go through more, but what's your prediction?
I think England will put more than 50 on them.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm going 57-5.
57-5. Wow. Fine. I like to go big. I'm going to go 66-0.
Wow. Let's see.
Why not? Why not, Dan? Let's give our listeners something to take the piss out of us for being overly. I mean, the problem is, look, against Ireland, I was feeling confident, and I didn't have the bottle to go with what I was really thinking, which would have been a lot closer to where it ended up. I don't want to make that mistake again. 66-0. Who nils people these days? So yeah, we'll see.
England are going to today.
Exactly. Question for you: will we see George Ford at 9? There's been a talk about this being a mix and match selection policy. They want to develop adaptability, and George Ford is officially the third choice 9 in the 31.
We won't see him at 9, no.
So they just will assume that he'll be okay in the event that he has to play there in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean that takes 2 injuries to your 9. So you can't.
Well, it takes.
There's
Yeah.
That 2 injuries on the same day. They're the sort of thing. I mean, you can't. You want to cover as many scenarios as you can, but you can't cover every single scenario. It's just pointless. I don't think we'll see him at 9.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Willie Hines coming on again. We've seen lots from him, but I'll be very interested to see if England go out and dominate in the first half, whether Hines can actually bring an injection of pace and impact even then. Because I think that will be another sign of whether or not he's, whether it'll help us, I think, decide whether we should be leaning towards him as our starter or whether the impact player coming on for the last 20-25 minutes is the right call, because he has looked very good in the first 3 warm-ups. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how he gets on when he gets on the pitch.
For sure.
Finally, Dan, South Africa exacted their revenge on Japan this morning with a comprehensive 41-7 demolition.
Are we surprised by that?
Well, they still didn't manage to put as many on them as we put on Ireland.
No, I know. I don't think we read into this stuff too much. But
I'm gonna. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned it. Should Scotland and Ireland just, is it dangerous for them? Is there a danger that this creates a sort of false sense of security for them in Pool A? They go, oh look, Japan just got absolutely thumped. We'll be fine. Because I think Japan have the ability to do another upset.
I think they do. Not on Ireland. I think Ireland are too strong up front.
I mean, not Scotland, if that team that turned up 2 weeks ago.
I can't see us seeing that happen again. Scotland, maybe, but again, it's another massive long shot. I would be very surprised. Yeah, you should be a bit worried. In the same vein, that we should be starting to just keep an eye on a French team that's starting to look oh so sweet and annoying. Fucking bloody French. Why do they always do this? It pisses me off. Play like absolute clowns. And then the World Cup comes and they're like, jouez. It's like, oh, piss off.
No, mate, they're getting all out the way now in the warm-ups.
I hope so, because
I'm
they
confident.
have got some
I don't think
talent.
I don't think they've got what it takes to stop this England juggernaut. It's gathered too much momentum now.
Yeah, so that's my final question to you. There was a pundit I heard in the week saying if they were England, they would be dying for the World Cup to be starting tomorrow because of the momentum they have. But he asked, is there a danger, bearing in mind the World Cup finals, another, I don't know, however long, like 9-10 weeks away, is there a danger they've peaked too soon? I think we both know our answer to this.
Yeah. But there isn't anyway, because I think if you're a team that makes it into the final, you've got momentum. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making it into the final.
Yeah, true.
So I guess you in terms of the first few games in the pool stages, you could argue that maybe there are teams that have peaked too soon. But I think this is where England have that advantage of their games on paper get gradually harder. So it's as long as they keep winning, which we obviously know that that's what they do because we've seen it already in the future because we're time travellers. As long as they keep winning, they're just going to build on the momentum that they've got. I'm pretty sure I said after the last England loss that they're unbeaten until after the World Cup.
I'm pretty sure he said exactly at that time,
and
and not a day before.
And they still are, even though they drew with Scotland.
Well, we lost to Wales, but...
Oh, yeah, no, that doesn't count.
Oh, no, that doesn't count. Fair enough.
No, because the law changed. So that was a draw.
Oh, I forgot.
That was a draw. Obviously.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, mate, I've just been done today.
What have you told me about facts?
Yes, I know. I've used my own thing against me. Well, for our listeners, we've got a lot of listeners at the moment. We've had a good few downloads recently. Good from the amount of site. For our listeners, for our reviewers, Wade, let's look forward to the undertaking ahead.
Indeed. I see what you've done there. It's very clever. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, didn't mention it at the beginning, going to mention it again at the end. But yeah, if you get the opportunity, obviously we're massively grateful for you guys tuning in and listening to us week after week. But head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. If you've got questions for us, if you have a difference of opinion you want to share, you want to tell us how wrong we are and why, or you just want to share some rugby-related stories, reach out to us. We're on social media at England Rugby Pod, or you can email us englandrugbypod@gmail.com. We have an Argentine fan lined up to do a little piece with us before the Argentina game. Same for the USA. But we're still looking for someone from Tonga, which might be tough to find at short notice. Not long to go now. And of course, France. Is that it?
Yes.
4 teams. That's it. And we want a Frenchman. And we've, as I said last week, we know someone out there is a Frenchman who listens to our pod because you told us in a review. So if you're still listening, it seems like maybe you're not. But if you're still listening, get in touch. Let's have a chat before the France game. But yeah, Dan, let's leave everyone with the anthems and let's come back half time and see how we're getting on. Not quite the half we were expecting. I said it was going to be a spectacle for the fans, and that the sort of the subtle sort of challenges they were going to set themselves, that taking them off the training field would be things we wouldn't notice. It's yeah.
I think I'm not disheartened by it. I think Italy a lot better drilled than I was expecting. Bearing in mind that's not going to be their first team. It's not been brilliant, but it's not been bad. I don't think England have done anything wrong as such. I'd like to see more of Rory McConaughey. I don't think he's really been given the chance to get in the game much. I think Mark Wilson's been absolutely brilliant. So has Johnny May, and actually Ben Youngs. I think our fears were probably unfounded.
Ben Youngs has had a better game. I wouldn't say it's been perfect by any means. There's been a lot of handling errors, which is slightly concerning. But like you say, there's been these kind of little individual moments. Like it's difficult to know whether there are things they're trying that I want to say. Why are you pushing so hard to create something when it's so not on? But then equally, there's been some amazing times. There's been times when they've done exactly that and created opportunities. And Jamie George out on the wing twice now with outrageous little offloads. Even Billy, cheeky little offload towards the end of the first half there. There's been these sort of individual moments where you've kind of gone, wow, that's brilliant, that's awesome. But as a team, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a particularly good 15-man performance yet. And little things. I mean, it's mentioned in commentary, but they're absolutely right. England have competed in maybe 2 lineouts that weren't theirs, and against Ireland, they competed in pretty much every single one, and they disrupted pretty much every single one. So it feels to me like they have actually got a game plan that's intentionally designed to make them play in a style that they envisage they might end up having to play in the World Cup, rather than playing the game they would naturally play in this situation if it was, say, the Six Nations.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's a few things. Like say, but Jamie George out wide. Don't get me wrong. Some of his hands have been brilliant. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned, but I'm not sure I want my fatties on the wing. Jamie George is a great player, and he's got good hands, but I'm not sure I want to see front row out on the wing, on the widest part.
You're not going to change that. That's become a tactical thing that's done throughout the rugby world now.
Yeah, I know. I just personally don't always agree with it. What did you make of the changes? So, 30 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's obviously been a plan.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
To do this, I don't think it's a reaction to anything.
No, I'm sure it's not.
But yeah, I don't know. It's very difficult. I want to kind of get inside Eddie's head, and I don't know how. Because I really don't know what he's... And I completely get it. Like, I completely get that he's gone into this game. He's going, if we treat this like a regular test match and we go out there and we play the kind of type of rugby that we would play if it was a World Cup final, chances are we put a cricket score on and we learn very little. I genuinely think that they must be intentionally trying to do things... this is not to take anything away from the Italians, but you look at when the Italians have really taken it to England. England haven't really struggled to deal with it. They haven't looked particularly good, and they haven't kind of dominated in counter-attack or anything like that, other than Johnny May. But they haven't really struggled to deal with it either. Defensively, they've been very strong, but it's just the whole thing. It's felt very muted. It's felt a bit lethargic. Are they tired? Which would be a worry, but maybe they've been pushed really hard in Treviso. They've come back. They are tired. They're going to have a couple of weeks off, and obviously training isn't going to be as intense during the World Cup as it's been in the build-up to it. So I don't know. Maybe they've just.
I don't think they're tired. I think the Italians' defence has been a lot better organised than I expected.
I mean, offside at every breakdown, and.
Yeah, well, if you get away with it, it's not offside. I think the second half it will open up more. I think you're right. I think there's probably ways how England could win the game more. I actually quite like the fact that they are playing it as a test match. They're taking the points when they're on offer. I do quite like that because I don't think there's value in just scoring the tries. I think you've got to play it like you say. I think it's a sort of World Cup plan.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the gaps will open up. Johnny May is such a good player, but every time he catches the ball, he looks like that kid at cricket who can never catch, like just claps his hands together and hope. But he never drops it. Mate, what was it? Hell, I just slipped. They called me the Iron Curtain. Nothing got past, but it was
beef curtain. Maybe.
He always catches it.
My problem with their kicking strategy to Johnny May, because they're using it on pretty much every other time someone gets the ball, it gets kicked for Johnny May to chase, and it's all well and good him collecting the ball, and he's obviously got rapid pace, but the Italians can make tackles, and Johnny May's so quick that he's getting tackled completely isolated. I feel like that is not a long-term solution. Play him like when we played Ireland in the Six Nations, put the ball through along the ground for him to run onto it. But the high ball, even if he collects it, unless he's got someone backing him up, he's 20 metres ahead of the rest of the England team. So, all the Italians have to do is make their tackle, and they'll almost definitely win a penalty. And it's happened a few times now. And it's not on Johnny May. Yeah. He's not, although he is officially conceding the penalties, it's not on him. Either you're kicking it too far and he's just so quick that he's still able to get to it, but then he's isolated, or you need to rethink this little strategy, because unless he's got the support, what's the point? Or, so put it into space instead. Put it into space, let him run onto it, because his gas is going to put anyone under pressure.
I think as well. Do you know what? I think Joe Marchant looks our most threatening. Well, no, actually, no, that's bullshit because Johnny May looks our most threatening player. But I think Joe Marchant's looking quite good.
Individually, there are a number of guys who are looking really interesting. This one just doesn't feel like the team is gelling the same way that they did against Ireland, for example, where it all kind of came together.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing Mark Wilson. He'd made like 9 tackles in 9 minutes.
Yeah,
that's my tackle statistic for the season.
Mate, you haven't played rugby for about 4 years. Let's just clarify.
That may be why. But Mark Wilson, the tune suits him. It's like you say, individually, there's some strong performances. I don't think there's going to be any performances that are going to change anything in Eddie's head going into a World Cup.
No, there never was. I don't think there ever was going to be, other than perhaps who's going to start at scrum half. But I think that's probably a decision that he's already made, and we'll see. We'll see how Ben Youngs gets on in the rest of the game, and however much of it he plays, he may well end up getting the full 80 minutes. But
he may well do, and I wouldn't be upset with that. So what do you want to see? I mean, we've all seen the first half. Do you know what? We're 9-0 up. The Italians have defended well. We have been maybe slightly underwhelming, but we've not been poor. What do you want to see in the second half?
Well, 54 unanswered points for a start.
That would be nice to hear.
I think I don't want to see 2 halves of England trying out things. I don't believe that they are playing the sort of game plan that they would play in any of the games during the World Cup. I think they're creating scenarios that they think they might find themselves in where they have to go, right, how do we deal with this now?
If that's the case, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Which is absolutely fine, because that's using it as a training game, as a World Cup warm-up game. If they are, in fact, trying their hardest to score as many points as they possibly can in whatever way best enables that to happen, then it's a concern.
Yes, yeah, but I don't believe that to be the case. We are.
Dare I say it? Are we missing George Ford at fly half?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's
distribution-wise. Owen Farrell's had a few slightly ropey passes.
I'm not convinced that's Owen Farrell compared to perhaps the runners not being quite in the right place. It hasn't quite clicked in the backs yet.
No, they are playing a second, third, you could argue fourth, because Joe Marchant being out of the 31 is, effectively there's cover for the 13 shirt from 3 other people before he gets in theory. So it's definitely an untested centre partnership, and not what you would pick for a World Cup final if you had options, which doesn't help. But I suspect at some point Ford's going to come on at 10, Farrell's going to move to 12, and what will they do then? Will they keep? They'll probably keep Marchant at 13 and try and mimic if Manu was to move outside. Maybe that will mix things up a little bit. I think England will open up in the second half.
I think England will open up, and I think the Italians will tire. I think the Italians have put everything into it. It's really annoying me the way the commentators are pronouncing Braley's name wrong, but
what do they keep
I'll let
saying?
that one go. Braley.
Oh, what?
I know. As if he's English, it's just disgusting.
Right. Well, quite aside from the fact that I tell you why it's not going to plan. It's because "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" was used as the background music for announcing the teams, and because England are playing in red when they're at home. So
I love the way also at Newcastle football ground. Most grounds, like when you walk out and the last saying is something like "blood, sweat, and tears" or "courage in adversity" or something. At Newcastle, it says "Away the lads." I love the way the tune. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Well, speaking of keeping it simple, let's get back to the second half and let's see England let's see things click. Because when they click, these guys can be devastating. But It hasn't happened yet, and I need to see more. 54 points in the second half, please, lads. Let's do it. Okay, so a slightly better second half there, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. We can probably go through the match more in depth during the week, but as Eddie said, they solved the problems. They solved the problems of the first half. I think that was great. A few key points I wanted to bring up at the end is, are we worried? So for me, I thought Sinks looks absolutely fine. Luke Cowan-Dickey, to me, looked a bit downbeat, as if there could be a concern there whether he's going to make that plane.
I mean, he definitely looked worried. Although, as they said, he's had a scan. It may just be that he took a knock. It was painful, and he was coming off the pitch thinking the worst. We shall see. I mean, if he is okay, then 4 weeks ago Eddie named a 31-man squad, and that entire 31-man squad is safe, and they're flying
awesome.
out, which is great. But yeah, obviously that is a slight concern. Sinks, walking around, iced up, limping a little bit, but I'm sure that's the sort of knock that anyone playing at international level is going to get in any Test match. So hopefully, he shakes that off in a couple of days, and it's no biggie. Question though: if Cowan-Dickey, God forbid, worst happens, if he can't go, if he's not on the plane, do they call up Dylan Hartley? And if they do, is he captain or vice captain?
He's not captain. To me, Harry Thacker's next in line. I don't think you call up Dylan Hartley.
Was Harry Thacker in the original sort of 40 whatever man squad it was?
Good question. I think he might have been. I can't remember. This sounds weird because bearing in mind we've talked so much about what Dylan Hartley offers. I think if he's called up now, it's almost counterproductive. Because to bring in someone that big a character who hasn't been for any of the cams, nothing to do with him as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. And I suspect that unless Cowan-Dickey is, got serious problems and needs to go and have knee surgery, they'd probably say, come out to Japan and work on your rehab while we're out there. And yeah, Eddie obviously said the initial scan looks good, so. In Eddie we trust, and hopefully it turns out that it's just a bit of a knock. And knees can be horrible, but equally they can. You can take a knock on a knee, think the worst, and actually it turns out it's just a bit of bruising. So hopefully it's something more like that.
So sorry, I was going to jump in with a question because I think we'll probably go through the game a bit more depth maybe during the week. Couple of questions for you. Firstly, was Ben Youngs your man of the match? If not, who was?
No, Ben Youngs wasn't. I thought he had a good game. He definitely, and particularly in that second half, kind of not answered his critics. I think that's unfair. I mean, he did if he had any like us. But no, he did what he set out to do, which was just to sort of settle the nerves and just sort of remind everyone that what happened against Ireland isn't the norm, which is great. We've got two great, really, really good scrum halves who can control the ball and help us with, stay on the front foot. But yeah, it wasn't man of the match performance. I would say man of the match. Even though he didn't play the full game, I'd probably say someone like a Sinclair. Or Mark Wilson with 28 tackles.
To me, it was Mark Wilson. I thought Sinclair and Genge, actually, I thought they had a huge impact. I love the way they seem to energise each other as well. But I thought Mark Wilson was brilliant today. And actually, that asks real questions about who does start. Do you go Curry, Underhill, or do you have Wilson? Because if you put in performances like that, it's hard. It's hard to leave out.
Well, I think this is the great position that England are in. Is that there are essentially two different options for the back row, both of which are, world class or thereabouts. And so it kind of depends on the opposition. and the kind of game you need to play. And by having because three of them, because four people make up the two completely different looking back rows. You're using three of them anyway. One's on the bench. You get to have that in a single game. So I think that's massively valuable to be able to say, whether you start with a Curry Wilson, and then Curry moves to 7 and Underhill comes on, or you do a straight swap if Wilson's having a stormer. You've got options there. If you want to play the 2 7s, you could start Curry Underhill, have Wilson come on, and then whoever of the two out of Curry and Underhill is having the sharper game, you keep him on, you take the other one off, bring Wilson on. You've got options. Obviously, the ever-present Billy at the back. But equally, you've got the option to move Wilson to the back and have Curry and Underhill. So there's, if Billy needs to come off, whether it's for a rest or whether he takes a bit of a knock and they don't want to risk him because there are big games coming up, there's a lot of options between the four of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I cheered more when England scored tries or when Billy was finally substituted.
When Billy came off.
Yeah.
Wrap him up. It was good.
Time.
I felt that not in quite the same vein, but in a similar way to how we felt that Ben Youngs seemed a little off form against Ireland. I felt that with Owen Farrell today. It's just I don't know, something didn't seem quite there. Maybe it was just a few too many mistakes that were a bit unusual for him. There were times when he seemed to not really know where he was supposed to be. One of the things that I thought was quite apparent today, and this I'm going to put it down to, it was a predetermined game plan because they wanted to test a certain test scenarios. England played incredibly flat, but relentlessly. Normally they kind of play in pods where the playmakers have the option of the flat pass or move the ball backwards where there's a bit of space to get it out wide. Here they were trying to get it. They were trying to play flat and get it 2, 3, 4 phases across. And quite often it just you kept thinking it's not going to go through. Then someone would catch it and move on, and then the same thing would happen. You're like, no, it's not going to happen. And then 2 or 3 goes, and then eventually the pass doesn't quite go to hands. And they were a lot better at it in the second half, but they did make life, I felt, difficult for themselves because the Italian defence was basically on England the entire time. I mean, all the passes seemed to be going between people's hands, between Italian hands and over their shoulders. And I don't know, it seemed a bit messy. And yet, the handling skills, England's handling skills, I think, when you look closely, were highlighted. It was a bizarre one for me.
Sink's handling skills are absolutely brilliant. I think the playing flat thing, I think you can play flat when you've got the likes of Manu playing because it's such a threat on the line. And also, and we saw it with Joe Marchant as well, when you've got dancing feet of the likes of a JJ or a Joe Marchant, playing flat can be as dangerous as coming from the depth with the speed. It wasn't worried, but the thing about Owen Farrell that I find interesting and what I want to ask you, George Ford to me made a massive difference.
I said to you before the game, Farrell? Or maybe I said it at half. No, I said it at half time. Are we missing George Ford?
And we were. To me, he made a massive difference.
Yeah, but this is where I think we put this more down to Owen Farrell. Something just didn't quite click today. I wouldn't go making any drastic decisions. There's a couple of.
Farrell's a starter, 100%.
Yeah, no, but I mean at fly half.
Oh yeah. We've got options and we've got good options there because.
But there's a lot of talk about do you play Man? Well, I suppose people are saying Manu's actually better at 13 anyway, but.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, and especially as we haven't seen Henry Slade yet.
Yeah, that's going to be another big one because you're going to have to play him in one of those, well, at least one, if not both of those first 2 games, to make sure you can't be bringing someone in who's had absolutely no game time and saying, a must win, and you've got to come in and do the job against a team that, on paper, could potentially cause an upset. So, Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But I think Eddie's got a tough decision to make about whether he starts Ford Farrell or sticks to this idea of Ford comes on later on in the game. And that's not to say that doesn't work. Ford can come on with 25 minutes to go, and if he can open things up a little bit, Farrell moves out. At that point, Tuilagi moves out. You start the game with a Slade or a JJ at 13, Mano at 12, but you move Mano out to 13. When Ford comes on, and again you change it up, and there are so many options. I think this is what's so good about this, the depth in this England side at the moment. It's not a question of what could you do if you had to. It's what are you going to choose to do, because there are quite a few different connotations that could all be seen as a first team, a World Cup final 15. And that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, I'm coming away from this game positive. It wasn't our best performance, but I think it was a good performance. I think there was good team. The team came through in the end, and I think there were some good individual performances. I think we are going to the World Cup in a very good place.
Oh, I 100% agree. And Conor O'Shea clearly agrees as well. He said that anyone who beats England wins the World Cup. It sounded like he believed it and meant it, rather than it was some sort of a mind game. I could be wrong, because he does like a mind game, but he seemed to be quite sure of that opinion. And that's great, because that's what we think too. Although we know that no one's going to beat England. So
we think it. We just think it a couple of years ahead of Conor.
Exactly. Interestingly, Eddie said we left 3 tries out there. 3 more tries converted would have been 54-0. So at 63-0 prediction, I wasn't far off. If
you said 66-0.
Did I?
Yes, I double checked.
I did wonder that when I was writing it down. Maybe it's changed, Dan. Who's doing the editing?
And I said 57-5, so I was actually nearer.
Well, yeah, but I think the more valuable prediction was the clean slate.
Mate, easy. Be careful, I know an undertaker. Yeah, I can make your body disappear.
Okay.
Well,
Dan's had a beer, everyone.
Do you know what? I haven't. I'm ready for bed. I have just had a nice hot chocolate. But
nice that you can go to bed while I edit our podcast.
well, thank you very much for your hard work.
You're welcome. Listen, anything else that we need to take out of this game now? This, kind of thoughts that are fresh straight off the back of this game. Anyone who concerns you in terms of? In fact, let's ask the question directly. Rory McConaughey. McConaughey. Yeah. How did you think he got on?
He didn't dazzle me, but I don't think he was given much of an opportunity.
Was it a mistake to take him off instead of Johnny May, who we already know what Johnny May's capable of? I don't think we needed to see more. I think when Cokanasiga came on, or Thokanasiga, I don't know how you're supposed to say his name properly. Everyone seems to do it differently. So, Big Joe, if you're listening, as I'm sure you probably are, get in touch with us and let us know how to say your name so that we don't make fools of ourselves. But yeah, when he came on, should it have been for McConaughey or should it have been for Johnny May? Give McConaughey a little bit longer.
I'd like to see McConaughey have longer. I think we all would. Sorry?
That's normally telling me it's bedtime.
Oh, right.
Tonight.
No, not now. I still need to see more of McConaughey to form my opinion. Based on what I saw tonight, I don't think he was bad. I don't think he did anything wrong as such. But there's nothing that's jumped out to me thinking, wow, I completely understand why he's in the squad.
No, I think it's a shame as well that he missed the opportunity to kind of take full advantage of the sort of the big England comeback. That, when all the gaps started to open up, as we kind of suspected that they would, he was no longer there to be able to get on the end of some of that. So that was unfortunate for him. But it's not about that. He's probably 4th choice winger.
He's going he'll do well to
Noel,
match.
May, Watson, Noel, Cokanasiga are all ahead of him, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I still, and this is, I'm not having a go in because I just don't think we've seen enough. I don't think he had the opportunity. I don't think it was his fault. I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think we've had the opportunity, and hopefully that'll come, and hopefully he will prove exactly why Eddie's picked him from. Let's face it, come the end of the Premiership season, he was not somebody we would have put in our squad. He's not somebody I think 99% of people would have put in their squad.
No. It's a very true story.
I like to keep it that way.
Well, listen, guys, thanks for tuning in and joining us for the last of the Rugby World Cup warm-up semi-live pods. It's obviously nice not to have to come back after half-time and eat a humble pie like we did in the end of the Six Nations. But it's been a great warm-up series for England. They are looking hot right now. They're going to be getting on that plane with a lot of confidence, and we certainly have a lot of confidence in their abilities, and we look forward to seeing how they get on. Of course, the next live pod is going to be when England take on Tonga in 2 weeks.
22nd.
22nd, whatever that is then.
Yeah, just over 2 weeks.
Just over 2 weeks. I think it's on a Sunday, the opening game.
Sounds right.
Sunday, and then four days later, USA on the Thursday.
I'm looking forward to it, mate.
It's going to be massive. I mean, there's another game tomorrow. Just quickly down Ireland. You said yesterday, Ireland to beat Wales in Ireland, in Dublin.
I think so. I think so.
Hope so. Fingers crossed.
I back New Zealand to beat Tonga as well. I believe that's who they're playing.
Tomorrow, is that?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
That could be a tight one. That could be a tight one.
You never know.
Is that on Sky? I need to watch that one, actually, because it'd be interesting to see how Tonga are looking.
I think it's very early. I record it. I think that's a record job.
Nice. Good plan. Right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. As I say, as we always say, if you get the opportunity, head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. Get in touch. Let us know what your thoughts are on our take on this game, on past games. And obviously, the World Cup is all about to kick off. And that's what this has all been about. So join the conversation, communicate with us, and let's all follow England en route to the raising of the Rugby World Cup, the Webb Ellis Trophy, in 7-8 weeks' time. It's going to be a hell of a ride. And we'll catch you guys midweek, Dan?
Midweek, yeah. Just to say good night, guys. And next time we speak to you, the England team will be in Japan.
Indeed they will. So at England Rugby Pod on social media, englandrugbypod@gmail.com if you want to email us, and we'll catch you next week.